Big up, big up, big up, big up, big up, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we are reaching you in the world. I'd like to say welcome to the Liverpool 12th Man Show. I'm the Liverpool 12th Man, and today we are going to go into some of the stuff that's been on the internet right now. The internet is sometimes a bad place to be if you are a Liverpool fan and you're trying to get updates on your favorite players or your favorite or get updates on the team. It can be a little bit of a daunting place. As you can see, we have some good news. I have some really good news, and there's some okay news as well, sprinkled in there too as well. But big up to you, everyone that's joining me today. Redbird D9, Realism Jared, Steven in the house, Realism, Red for Life, and as always, we have Brian joining us as well today. How are you doing, fine, sir?
I'm doing well. I hope everyone watching is doing well. It's good to see so many people in so early. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Definitely, definitely so. Definitely appreciate everyone joining us so early. Hopefully, you can rock all the way through this flight. This plane is leaving, so let's get airborne. And speaking of airborne, Liverpool have departed John Lennon Airport this afternoon for the last 16 of the Europa League, and it's the first leg tie in Czechoslovakia on Thursday evening. So the question was asked to me, what is our 23-man squad registered for Europe? Okay, for Europa, at least that's actually traveling with the squad. I ended up doing a little research and getting that definitive list together as to who's going to Prague at least. And so far, and let me bring it down here. So far, this is the list of 23 men that we have on the list. Okay, so going with them to Prague are Gomez, Endo, Van Dijk, Kanate, Diaz, Dom, Nunez, McAllister, Salah, Adrian, Hackbo, Elliott, Simicast, Robbo, Clark, Gordon, McConnell, Kelleher, Kumas, Kwanzaa, Bradley, Musalowski, and Mazurik. I hope I said Morzik. Morzik, I think his name is actually. How do you pronounce his name? Do you know, Brian?
I'd
He's the
have to read it.
goalkeeper.
Spell it.
It's
Spell it.
spelled Mrozek.
Whatever you said.
Yeah, okay, whatever I said, I got you. I got you. Um, so yeah, so are you confident in this squad, or are the big names that are missing still keeping you a little bit like skeptical of our pursuits here? What are your thoughts, Brian? Are you cool with that list? Is there obviously departing from the big names, of course, that the Trent Alexander-Arnolds and such that aren't a part of that list. Is there any like youth player that you wanted to see possibly on there? Maybe like a Neoni or something like that you're disappointed not getting to see involved in this?
That's a good one actually. I'd forgotten about him. Maybe he just missed. I'm surprised Muzialowski is going. Um,
Right.
I honestly at one point, if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would have told you I thought he was gone. I thought he'd left. He's been on the fringes and threatening to get in a lot of teams for a long time now. It seems like he's been around for years, and
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's still part of the what you call part of the furniture.
Mhm.
It's a good mix. It's when you read it out, like I was looking at that myself there earlier on. I noticed Musilowski, but I was just thinking about that. I didn't really read it, but when you read it out again, it is a very strong mix. There's pretty much apart from like you said with the keeper, Mo's on the plane. Nunes is there, so you look fairly full strength. Apart
Mhm.
from the people that we knew weren't going to be there. So I'm very happy with it. Yeah, there should be plenty there to be able to put out a really good start 11 and then to be able to make decent changes as well. That's the
Mhm.
healthiest, that's the most robust looking that squad has been for a while, especially with Mo back. And he wouldn't be this is the thing. Like, they're on the plane to Prague. They're not, training. He's not on that plane if he's not fit. So that's good. That's a
Yeah,
really good sign.
yeah, yeah. Like if there wasn't any hopes of him being available, at some point, then he just wouldn't be on the plane, most likely. You know,
Yeah, it's at
um,
home.
right, right. Um, yeah, it should be like an interesting debut for Musalowski if he actually does get that's the 20 now that is the 23-man squad, so that doesn't necessarily mean that these 23 names are all going to be on that game day squad. So that's something to keep in mind too. I mean, there's obviously a few names that will be um, we'll just be watching from the stands basically. Um, but yeah, I
Yeah, there
thought
could
that
be
that
an
name.
issue as well. Sorry, there could be an issue as well where if you don't, because you have to name a 23-man squad,
Mhm.
um, and there could be penalties for not naming a 23-man squad. I wouldn't be surprised
Mm,
if there were. Um,
mm,
it's just something you need to do. Um, Clubs need to be able to fulfill match day regulations and commitments. So I think that is like if you can name 20, but you might get like a 20 grand fine for it or something.
mm,
So
mm.
it is important to fulfill those things. So yeah, there will be a couple of like there'll be a couple of stiffs on that plane who know they're not getting near the pitch.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, I don't think that I'm not saying that it's a pretty much lock that we won't do this, but I can relatively confidently say that we probably won't go with two keepers, for instance, on the bench. We have in other games. That's why I can say relatively confident to
Yeah,
say that. But chances are we won't go with two keepers on the bench. Speaking of keepers, the training session, we had a training session, and Mohamed Salah was seen on the training pitch and would most likely be featured in the Sparta Prague match. Whether as a starter or a substitute is still up in the air. What's the chat's preference for that? Do you guys want to see him as a starter? I know we're all happy to see him back. We all want to see him get minutes, some type of minutes to prepare himself, not overexert himself, obviously, but to prepare himself for the game, for the big game this weekend. What's the chat's feelings on that? Would you prefer him as a starter or would you prefer him as a sub this weekend? I know I have my own little preference. I've been mulling it over, kind of like trying to figure it out. Had some nightmares here or there about like trying to figure out which way I would prefer to go with that decision. But there were I know also, judging from training, there were hopes that Gravenberch would be able to uh, return for the Manchester United game in the press conference, at least. But we now know that's looking more likely that Gravenberch is going to be returning after the international break, along with Curtis Jones. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is a relatively, distant uh, hope that he'll be ready after international break, and even Allison joining him as well. But focusing on the positive news, Salah, Nunez, and Dom will be available for the selection. That's certainly promising to hear, don't you think, Brian?
yeah, I'd be in the 20-minute, 25-minute club for Salah.
Mm,
I don't really want him to start, or else Klopp decides to go the other way, which is start him. I hope to have the game done as early as possible,
mm,
and then take him off maybe. But I'd be
mm,
probably just being a bit more cautious and bench him and 60 minutes, something like that. Those 60-minute subs we normally make.
mm,
He could be one of those. We normally bring on two or three around that time, so bring him on then. And uh, that's just I'm kind of I'm worried. See, I don't know what to do up front, but I don't also I really want to avoid, because we've been talking about Liverpool a lot, and we haven't spoken about Prague. I don't mean us. I mean just on other things. I don't want to underestimate them at all. That's a really
Mm,
they're like a really good crowd. It's a noisy stadium. It won't be. It's not like some random group game away. This is a qualifying game. So if we're
mm.
not really ready for this, then we might have a proper game. I don't know a lot about them really at all. So I'm a little bit worried that we might be getting complacent about it, and it's not going to.
Do you
Yeah, I don't
think?
think it's
Okay.
all going. Well, I just
Okay.
haven't, just haven't watched a few like that. That result they pulled out of the bag against Galatasaray was unbelievable. So they obviously have a lot about them, and we've done this before. Liverpool have been like the underdog team in cup games, and we know how to bloody people's noses, and we've done it to people. So I don't want to underestimate these at all. So that leads me towards maybe he does start a Van Dijk, maybe he does start a Salah, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
But he's got some big calls to make. There's no doubt about that. Which way do you
I
do it?
agree. I
Win
agree
it
with you,
early or
Brian.
win them on late? Try and win it. So what do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you on the. I'm more for this mindset at least. When it comes to our team, I would prefer to see Salah start. Now, hear me out. The reason why I say that I would prefer to see him start is primarily only because, not necessarily. I mean, if the minutes dictate he can't start, then that's a different story. If you only give you like 30 minutes, or if
Yeah,
if the medical team says, oh, 20, 30 minutes is all we can really get out of him, different story. But if it's one of those things where they're just trying to work him back into fitness, I prefer starting a game, because then normally, especially for players like Salah, and I know that he did get a result at Brentford for us, but um, for players like Salah, for me, I would like to see them get into a rhythm in the game. I would like for them to be able to kind of like get that that volume of touches, and just get a nice little consistent flow with, especially if not with a team that they normally would play with. If you do have some surrounding pieces out there that are going to be starters normally with them, I like to see that as opposed to throwing him in for 30 minutes and just getting a sub out of him,
yeah.
roll out of him. But
Well, just like we're saying, that he's on the plane for a reason. So
yeah,
like he's got to be good for at least a half.
mhm,
Otherwise, yeah, they would have said, look, do you want to bring him? He might be able to play 10 minutes. Or what's the point in that? So he
right.
must be good to go. So like I'm all for whatever way Klopp wants to do it. But it's
Yeah,
just the way
yeah,
my head is that he's got fitness. The way I'm thinking is he's not good. He's not totally fit. So more often than not, that's just a bringing a guy on job. But you
mhm,
could start him
mhm,
if he wakes like he is Mo. He's super fit. We know that. But the thing I was
yeah,
just thinking while you were talking about this is like this also keeps them guessing. They won't
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Prague. I mean, Prague
Yes, it
won't
does.
know whether they're going to be lining up against Mo Salah or whether they're going to be signing up against Supposedly. They're not really going to know. So
Yeah, or
that's a good
even they
thing as
could.
well.
Yeah, even well, I'll save my my possible selection if Mo Salah doesn't get a start. I have a name out there that I think might get an actual start in this game. But yeah, you never know who you're going to get. Never know who you're going to see involved in the lineups, and that's why, if anything, I I'm confident that Klopp is going to know, the ins and outs of everything. I'm confident that, as you said earlier, Salah most likely wants to be a part of the. He most likely wants to start. He probably doesn't want to really necessarily get involved from a. I saw J.K. jump in and jump out. Um,
I
he
want to
doesn't.
start. Yeah, but he's got to know what's good for him as well.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
last thing we need, like what have we been speaking of so much about bringing people back too early and getting injured straight away. So
Yeah.
can we need him fit for City more than anything else. I get it. This is Prague. This is the game we're in, but we need him for City more than this. We
Mhm,
should be able to handle Prague without him. Winner goes to
mhm.
quarterfinals. Winner of this round goes quarterfinals. Yeah, big up John Conway
Big up John. Big up John Conway.
and Lee
Big up to
and
Dustin.
Lee. Lee.
Oh, and Philip in the house too. Lee WizKid in the house. Good. We're getting some of the regulars of the Mighty Reds Army here. That's what's up. Definitely. I'm gonna add in JK to this discussion. How you doing, JK?
Oh, good, bro. Hope you guys are okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, all good, man.
Enjoying, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
well.
see what I have some more news. Oh, and Diego is also close, but he's not. When I say close, it'll be closer to April when we see Diego. By the way, I didn't mention Diego in that list. Honesty is saying my team selection: Kelleher, Kwanzaa, Ibu, Joey G, Joey G at right back, Costas at left back. Midfield will be Clark, Endo, Mac 10, Lucho, Hakpo, Salah. They've scored 3 goals and sub Salah, Diaz off, and because Klopp will take it seriously. I think Klopp is definitely going to take it seriously. Definitely going to, it was interesting. This was interesting too. And also I already listed the names on there. Notice a name that wasn't a part of it. Now, I'm not certain if it's because he didn't take part in, maybe it's because he didn't take part in the earlier games in this campaign for Europa, so maybe he's not eligible. But one name that wasn't a part of that list is Jaden Dans. That was a very interesting omission. I don't know if it's because he wasn't on the percent on the list or not, but
Those kids don't need to be. So you only need to name like your main guys, and then you can call up anybody from your underage.
He's got concussion.
Oh yeah. He's got a concussion.
Yeah, he definitely would have gone. He would have been on the plane.
Yeah.
I think they have to do 3 or 4 days off or something. Yeah.
Yeah, protocols now. They can't train for. I think it's 3 or 4 days.
Maybe did he get a concussion from bumping into the goalkeeper? Maybe
you could do.
Maybe
that's when he got it.
I think when he came on, he was like a raging bull.
Oh yeah, I know. He was.
That's why he's got the brother.
Bull in a China, as they say, a bull in a China shop. In a fine China shop. Yeah.
What I mean is, I don't remember the game being stopped for a concussion.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what?
They missed one.
In today's world, yes, concussions are a real thing. I get that. I was saying yesterday's world, a lot of people played through concussions, and whether they knew it or not, they just like shook it off and continued to play.
They were playing with them all. Yeah, they did some serious damage to themselves back in the day because they didn't know what they were doing. But they proved it eventually. It wasn't. I think around 10 years ago, JK, you might remember. They proved that the link between it and Alzheimer's. So that's when they stop kids heading the ball at underage levels now in training. They don't, there's no headers, all of that stuff. So yeah, you're right. Like back in the day, lads were getting their heads kicked, they would be, I was seeing stars. I didn't know where I was, and the coach just threw me back on and all this stuff. Like absolutely crazy stuff. You'd be going to hospital for these days, and they were just sending them back out on the pitch, is that
as well? Yeah.
Talk about kicks to the head. I mean, somewhat similar to the kick in the head that Kanate suffered from the Forest matchup. I'm surprised he didn't get it. I'm happy to hear, or hopefully happy to see that there's been no reports of him having a concussion from that blow to the head. But yeah, that's something that's somewhat scary. As people might know, also in the title that I had out there, there was a pretty ugly and nasty rumor floating around the internet that Kelleher was hurt. I saw that. I just shook my head. You know, with all the injuries we had, it wouldn't be a surprise if that was some type of news that we were getting. You know, especially remember everyone was talking about on Frank Carlisle's show. They were talking about like players that have slipped in the bathroom or dropped jars on their feet or something like that, and all those different things. I'm just like, oh my goodness, you know. But with Wednesday's session open to the media and streamed live on the channel's YouTube channel, obviously, players began to emerge for the start of practice, but Kelleher was not a part of it initially in the very beginning. So that made me even more scared to think that that the rumors were true. But Kelleher eventually joined our Reds on the pitch. He was pictured in training ahead of Europa. Obviously, I just listed him in the people being a part of the trip above, but he was on the training pitch ahead of the Europa League game against Sparta Prague, excuse me, and that kind of put to bed those social media rumors that he had picked up an injury. That was like, it was pretty ugly to see that as well. I got you. I saw that. I can see. I see what the chat's saying. But
I've seen him
but again,
in the background. Yeah, I've seen him in the background. I've seen Kelleher in the background when they were training. I was so happy when I seen him, bro.
yeah. Because it was out there that he was hurt, and I was like, man, this would be just another punch in the gut. But yeah, he was the last to get on the pitch, but he was the last to leave the pitch as well. Yeah, Ian is giving us an update here. Is on standby. Okay. And Realism Jared asks, why so worried, Tough Man? We have Adrian. Big up to Adrian. I saw Adrian doing some I'm trying to think how to even put it, some noble service to taking care of the horses that I guess we have a horse stable that we sponsor. And I saw Adrian, trying to help out and, saying hello to the horses, but I'm not necessarily looking for that option to be taken on. But all respect due to Adrian, I will give it to Adrian on this. The last time he played was against Manchester City, in which I think we got a win out of that game too, right? I think anyone remember that or no? That was the last time we played. Was the last time Adrian played in keeper for us was against City, and I believe that we got a result out of that. I think we got a win out of that. But I guess not. I guess you guys aren't as confident in it as always. as I am.
One good thing about Adrian is that he's always got a smile on his face. Yeah, he's the goalkeeper. He's on about 60 grand a week, but at least he isn't moping around. If you understand my point, he gets around. He communicates with everyone. So I think sometimes, the third choice players like your Gapcos, Adrian, these type of players, they seem to all have good personalities and good smiley faces. I think they don't mope around like, say, other teams like United subs bench. They always look sad and stuff. I think our subs bench always looks happy. Good to see.
Sure, that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Totally unnecessary joke figure. Gets all of the hate that he gets, all the stuff, the disrespect he gets from our fans. I don't understand it at all. The guy's never done anything wrong. It's just like, because he's not whoever, he's never, like, he makes one bad mistake in a game or something. But it's one of my litmus tests for people who don't know anything about football, really, is people who don't understand how important the third choice goalkeeper is. It is. If you don't know what a third choice goalkeeper does, if you think he just shows up and gets paid, then you don't understand how it works at the club. They're massively important in training and having, and not just in training, but they're huge. They're built in to training models. Is having a third choice keeper, and it's if you don't get that, you don't get that. That's fair enough. But the guy's not a joke. The guy's not a joke. You know.
No, because I mean, like he's depending on the third keeper is definitely doing a job out there in practice, whether it's mentoring other players, other keepers, or keeping doing whatever it is in training that is necessary, or even just
all the drills.
providing
all the drills are based around.
providing a keeper for the
keeper.
drills. Providing a keeper for the drills and everything else, because you're that player's got to keep. You want a player that's going to be able to go out there and make the get 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 shots put onto him, throughout a training session. That's not necessarily what you want your starting keeper to be going through, because that can really tear down your keepers. So
that's what Story said the other day. Back in the days when you wanted to do shooting practice, he used to call up Kelleher to be the goalkeeper, and Kelleher was nowhere near the first team at that time. So I think a lot of shooting practice, people like Adrian will probably be involved in that.
Massive. It goes under the radar.
It does actually.
Like Man City had Scott Carson till he was nearly 40 years old. Nobody was laughing at that. The guy never played football. He has a different job to do.
Right.
I know he's homegrown and all that, but like third choice keeper at the top club. Look at they're all like Adrian. They all have these random ex-pros that you just easy make a joke about them on Twitter, but if you look at what they do, massively important. And they have to be a certain type of character, and they have to have all the right qualities and abilities. And if it came down to it, and Kelleher got sick, and something happened, and he had to come on, the only problem is he hasn't played football in about 2 years. That's the thing. That's the only problem. But other than that, if he was fit, I'd have no problem. Okay, look, Adrian's coming on. Don't get your knickers in. He's a goalkeeper. He'll do a good job. He's not one of these calamity keepers from back in the 90s that was just throwing things. He's rock solid.
No, and I mean, to reach this level, you have to be. It's not like he just showed up for good, for good vibes and a paycheck. He has to keep himself fit. He has to keep himself ready. It's not easy. It's not easy to be a backup in any of these facilities, because if anything, you have to be prepared for when you are called upon, and you have to be at that level and prepared to be at that level. Otherwise, you're not going to have a job, like as in if you're not, and it's difficult because you want to be match fit, you want to be match ready, but you're not getting matches in, so that tango is a difficult dance to make. But I mean, those that can perform it, and can do it well to the point where they can, substitute here or there a game or two or whatever is necessarily needed. That's important to have. So I have no hard feelings or disrespect towards Adrian. I appreciate him, but I would just prefer obviously our other choices before having to utilize the choice.
What I was going to quickly say is normally third goalkeepers are normally youth players, 17, 8-year-old goalkeeper in the youth system, because the first two are your first two and stuff. And in a weird way, it's better to have Adrian who's got that experience than a guy who's from the youth system. For now, that's what I think.
Definitely. And all those people on Twitter would kill to have his 60 grand a week job.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was gonna say I saw some of the Mighty Reds Army in the actual chat for the press conference, which is pretty cool. But I don't know if everyone saw the press conference or not. I still got to figure out or find out how, or if I'm allowed to technically be able to rebroadcast or broadcast it live. The initial context of what I was going to do was broadcast it live and kind of like listen with you guys and then kind of give my thoughts afterwards. But just in case, with the weird laws of YouTube and copyright rules and infractions.
if LFC YouTube is broadcasting it live, you can show it if it's on their YouTube,
Mhm.
because Ends
Yeah.
and Savage do that all the time. I think
Yeah.
Jamie did it all around. If it's on
To
Mhm.
their
break it
YouTube,
down, yeah.
you can just
Okay.
put it up on the screen. If it's
And
not
play
from
Okay.
it.
their channel, yeah, it's being live streamed on YouTube. It's just like if I was on your channel and I
Hmm.
had my channel and then I put it up on
But
my
that's
channel that
just
I
for
was on
press
your channel.
conferences, right? That's just for press conferences, though.
As
What
long
you're
as it's on
saying.
YouTube, yeah, I'm not even if maybe you might be able to show those under 18s games, but yeah, that's what the lads do. They show the press conference because it's on
That's what I
YouTube.
wanted to know. If anyone, I mean, like, I'll do my own due diligence too. But yeah, I wonder if anyone has any ideas about that. That'd be great. I'd love to, be able to watch some of the younger the LFC TV games on some of the youth academy games, or maybe even like show like some parts of the insider training thing. Um, I wanted to also, so the press conference happened, and at the press conference, shout out to Alexis, who was the interpreter, and for a couple of different reasons. But but I was also going to say she had a difficult job, because some of those answers that Jurgen gave, and then her having to interpret it, into her native tongue. It was a press conference within a press conference almost. But
And the fans were moaning at her as well, weren't they?
oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, she's talking too much. So I'm like, come on, man, leave her alone. She's trying to do a job there, She ain't, it ain't show
I
business.
know. That's the thing
You
about it,
know,
that she's just doing what she was paid to do, which is interpret what he said and
yeah.
say it. You know, if you want to get angry, like,
Turn it
uh,
off.
yeah, Jurgen's got to make his answers more snappy.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, I don't mind it. It would have been better. I think people wouldn't possibly have had a problem with her having a lengthy a lengthy speech to say if they put the camera on her. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. It was just
Because
a voice.
yeah, she certainly was an attractive interpreter, but all the same, um, one thing I heard him say, which is something I've been saying, that whole next man up, next game up type prioritized mentality. I was happy to see Jurgen emphasize that in the press conference. That was about the only thing out of the press conference that I really thought was like the note, something of note, if anything, because a lot of the questions were kind of like, they were just like what they were like, kind of like, basic questions. But he said basically, we do not prioritize competitions. Whatever is the next game up is our priority. And I was like, that's something I've been emphasizing, something that at least I really appreciate, that mentality, and that's the mentality that I would hold, even if I was the skipper for this team. That's the kind of mentality I would have. It's a mentality I think that we've seen somewhat ingrained in this club since the very start of Jurgen's arrival here, which is that next game up is the next big game, not 3 games later, not 2 games later, this game. That's all. And he was saying how he doesn't prioritize any competition, meaning the league, meaning Europa, any competition. He prioritizes whatever is ahead of him in that week. And I was like, that's
I
the
wouldn't
right mentality, I think.
I wouldn't believe that he said that he thinks that at the start of the season he would. I wouldn't. I get that he's saying it like in front of the cameras and he's saying it for the
Mhm.
team to hear as much as anything else. But I mean, he doesn't give his innermost thoughts. I guarantee you, prioritize the league.
Mhm.
It's all about saying the right things again. But innermost thoughts and all that with him as a manager, too right. They all prioritize the league. There's
I get
there's just
you.
no
I get
doubt
what you're
about it.
saying.
Yeah.
Sure. I
He's
get what you're
going to say
saying.
these things to create the atmosphere and the right, buzz around the players in camp, and all of that. But if you sat him down in a room on his own, say like, do you have is there one thing that you want to win more than most at the start of every season? Yeah, the league. They ask managers that, and they often say it. They used to
Hmm.
Mhm.
say it all the time. It's like, yeah, it's the league, and then everything else, But he would want to go if he could go out on one competition that would be it. Because winning 2 leagues, because there's all the COVID season, this, that, to
Right.
have a full, an undisputed, unarguable, proper league run and all that go out and win. I think, if I was a manager, that's what I'd be prioritizing. But yeah, you're going to say it to the press, like, because otherwise you get a headline the next day saying Klopp doesn't, doesn't
Looking
rate
past this,
Europa.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
Klopp.
think it's more so like him looking past this competition or even this opponent. It's the
He's been asked
wrong
questions.
thing. That's like locker room,
He
quotes.
always says it. Yeah, he always says in press conference, it's the next game, it's the next team. That's because he's too wily to get caught out in saying, "Oh, Forest doesn't matter. It's all about City," or "Prague doesn't matter. It's all about Man United." He's too cute to get caught out making those kind of things. He rarely ever. This thing, you look at headlines for him, he rarely gets caught out in
No,
anything in
yeah,
the press.
yeah.
He'll go, "Ha ha ha! We know what you meant, but you said it, and we can really spin that the wrong way because
Yeah.
you're inexperienced manager." So, he knows how to play that game now. He's kind of straight bats a lot of questions, straight bat, like as in kind of gives a real non-committal, cliche
Yeah.
type answer. And he's gotten a lot better at that, and he's gotten a lot better at speaking to the fans via the press.
Yeah.
Because these journals try and catch these guys out all the time. Klopp is just like,
Oh yeah, they
he'll
do,
give him a
absolutely. That's
look.
their job, though. That's their job.
Yeah, he'll give him a look, or he'll give him a laugh, or he'll go, "Come on now." He's too cute for a lot of that. But you can still get him angry a bit, but not so much. But yeah, I think
He
he's
said it.
mastered these press conferences now a bit. He really has. Like,
Yeah,
I
and
saw
I also
JK. I
think,
saw JK in the chat with me for the press conference, and he can comment on this as well. There was that part where they tried to catch him up on saying that, and that's why he gave that type of answer. But it was also a funny part when someone asked a question. I think it was about about injuries or something, dealing with the injuries, and he answered, "Can you please translate that into?" He asked him to translate. The reporter had said it in English, but he's like, "Can you please translate what he said?" Just trying to make a joke out of it.
just
The
messing with
audience
you.
had a loud laugh out of it.
yeah, but I
Yeah,
think quickly just that Klopp. I think he wants to keep on winning, and if we lose the game, he's going to mess up the rhythm of the team. I think Klopp's thinking like that. That's my opinion. That's why he takes every
Yeah,
game serious. He wants to win to keep that
yeah,
energy going. I think that's very important to him. He don't want no hiccups. He wants to win every game. This guy. So
mhm.
that's why the squad going tomorrow is sort of looking kind of good. A week back, I think majority of us fans would never think that squad would be going to the Czechoslovakia. So before Sunday, it's looking okay. So just hopefully we get some game time from these guys tomorrow as well.
Yeah. I was just gonna say thanks for Cedric stopping by. Um, Big up for all those that are stopping by and saying hello, or actually able to sit back, enjoy on my airplane. Everyone, there's no first class, there is no coach. Everyone's first class. Let me say that right now. So enjoy
there's no
enjoy this.
parachutes either.
There's no what? What do you say?
There's no parachutes either.
No parachutes. Yeah.
There's no pilot.
Doors are
If you
locked.
want to get out early, you got to jump. But yeah.
Yeah, doors are locked. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Doors are locked, and make sure you have your seatbelts on. Sometimes, with this team, hey, sometimes you gotta, you come across a little bit of turbulence, but it's all good. Speaking of turbulence, how about this little update? Okay, so Fabrizio, who is he's suspect, man. I will say that he's a little bit suspect with some of his updates and some of the timely updates that he actually gets out there. Because he's been putting out a lot of press propaganda for Alonso going to Bayern Munich. But And he's also been saying that they're in talks. They're in talks. Reportedly, though, they're not in talks. So I had this little update here that I can include. And basically it says, the update is Xabi Alonso's future. Alonso made no decision about his future. There were no negotiations between Bayern and Alonso yet. And Alonso didn't say to Bayern that he prefers a move to Munich or Liverpool he didn't say to Bayern that he prefers a move to Munich over Liverpool. And Leverkusen would demand a fee for Alonso, but didn't discuss a sum. So to go further into that, Xabi Alonso is unlikely to accept the head coaching role at Bayern Munich before talking to Liverpool, according to one German football expert. Bayern and Leverkusen are very irritated by recent reports about talks between Bayern and Xabi Alonso, the coach's alleged willingness to move to Munich and a potential compensation fee. Leverkusen insists they haven't set any fee for Alonso, nor is there a release clause. They also know nothing about any discussions between Alonso and Bayern. FC Bayern also firmly reject that they have held negotiations with Alonso. The club's bosses are still waiting for a signal from Alonso as to whether he is available for concrete negotiation. That hasn't happened yet. So what about Liverpool, you might ask? Okay, so it appears the Premier League side has operated via the proper channels per Sport Bild. That's a publication in Germany. And with that, when Liverpool inquired to Alonso's agent, Inaka Ibanez, the agent passed the interest directly on to Leverkusen. In the case of the alleged negotiations with Bayern, Leverkusen insists that did not happen at all. It did not happen. So it's very interesting that, Fabrizio is making these, pretty much, I would say, go as far as to say wild statements. Again, this was by CF Byron. It has it on there, but he has Christian Falk or CF Byron on Twitter is his handle. And why I'm bringing this up is because, one, I can't see any coach in a title race, albeit with a strong title race, or a more decisive title race being in his favor, still all the same. I can't see him negotiating with Bayern Munich at any point until the season's over. Until the season is done, I couldn't see that happening. And it's very interesting because, obviously, there's been reports who I've just mentioned, other than just Fabrizio, saying out there that Bayern's in talks with Alonso. Alonso in his mind prefers to make the move to Bayern Munich. It's really, really shameful, and it's one of the reasons why sometimes I spoke to Brian. I know Brian's going to hold me. Brian should and can't hold me to account. I don't necessarily like doing the whole speculation type news or the speculation style transfer news, whether it's coach or whether it is the players and everything else, because it can get kind of depressing. AKA Jude. I don't know if that's too soon to bring that up, but all the same, how do you guys feel about some of this, these things coming out? And tell me, I'm going to bring up some of the chat too. After I'll bring it up after you've mentioned what your opinions are. I'll bring up the chats and then I'll say my own opinion once again to conclude. But how are you feeling about what we're hearing, Brian, or what I just mentioned? I'll
let JK go first because he's our man in Germany.
Yes,
yeah.
He's our German consul. Yes.
I was going to say that that Falk, actually, when he writes something, it makes more sense compared to the guy Plattenberg. Yeah, he's proper Sly Sports clown, just dropping statements after statements, and the guy you was talking about, 12th, Romano. Yeah, these guys are what do you call them? They call them there's a word from when something happens, they're sort of there straight away, and they can get the
Tap-in
benefit
merchant.
from it.
People call him a tap-in merchant.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's like one of them type of guys. You know, they will say 10 things, and if 2 of them come true, they say, "Ah, there you go." So it's like us
Mhm.
going to the football, to the bookies and predicting this weekend's football results. You know, the same doing that. I think if you've got a bit of common sense about you won't really, you'll go through one ear out the other. This Alonso topic is actually started to wind me up a little bit, because at this moment I'm not really bothered about Alonso. If you understand my point, I'm bothered about Liverpool and winning that Premier League. All these stories coming out in the last few weeks about our new manager. Okay, Klopp came out with that statement. He's going to leave, and I think it took about a few weeks for us guys to get used to it, but now it's done. Any guys who really are talking about the new manager need to wait a bit. Wait until this season is finished, and then let's talk about the new manager. So, but that guy Falk, Christian Falk, he's okay. I don't mind
Mhm.
when he says something; it's pretty okay actually. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of tapping merchants, as Brian was saying, in that media world. And you know what people are like? They're like headless chickens running after information like it's gold. Come on,
Yeah.
you know, fans need to wake up a little bit. And that's why
What
these guys are carrying on. These guys carry on because the sheeple, they go straight after the news, like bang, look at that. He says, look, I just dropped a tweet, and within 5 minutes I've got this many views, you know. He's getting paid for that. So he's thinking fucking happy days. You know, come on, man, it's 2024, people. Don't believe everything you hear via the media. 100%. Especially in football.
Right. Yeah. No, I was going to ask Brian, when it comes to hearing this, let's just take it for what it is. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about if you were a German Bundesliga fan of either Leverkusen or even just of the league in general? Um, how do you feel about Bayern's actions within that league and how they just don't, they just don't give two F's, about going on and just taking all the best talent and taking and even when it's not your even when it's not the actual players, they'll even go as far as to mess with teams that they're competing with that have making a concerted challenge to their reign. They just go and try to poach your coaches now too. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you think it would be a good move for? Also, would you think it would be a good move for Alonso to go from Leverkusen to, basically the most hated rival or foe in the league from your former club?
Well, like you said, it's why they are hated. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. It won't surprise anybody in Germany one jot that this has happened, because, like you said, this is just what they do. They did it to Dortmund. They didn't get their manager, but they got most of their players. Their whole thing for about 10 years now has been to get a player, get that player done in January for a summer move, which would be kind of unusual, but they would get that done in January. And then around this time of the year, about 10 games after, they'd announce it, that they'd signed that player. And that player would still be playing, like Götze would still be playing, Lewandowski would still be playing for Dortmund. And they just announce it with 2 or 3 months after the season in the middle of a title race. Oh, that news got out. That's why they're hated. That's what they do. But that's that's who they are. This stuff about Alonso, I've been waiting for this to come out. The claim and counterclaim. If you look at Romano, I know a lot of people call him a tap-in merchant, and I do. I understand why.
Mm.
But a lot of this stuff that he talks about, it's actually he's been talking about from day one. He's right about 90% of the time, 99% of the time, maybe. He tweets constantly about smaller moves that nobody says that about. And
Mm.
he's usually right. That's why he's so big, because he actually This guy isn't just guessing and making up. He has contacts, and they tell him stuff. And nobody gets them all right because stuff changes at the last minute. This guy isn't fake or whatever. I know people are basically jealous of him or they don't like him. I know some people who pretend to hate him are actually jealous of him because everybody realizes that transfer news is gold.
Mhm.
Transfer news on, because these YouTubers that pretend to hate him, they will, if they will build their channel on transfer rumors and say, I've heard this, I know that.
Right.
And
All off
would,
of what reporting. Yeah.
all off of other stuff that they would kill to have his kind of knowledge because they know the transfers make money. So they're just
Right.
jealous of. That's his little thing. Let him get on with it. You know, the fact that he reported on a player joining your club or not doesn't affect it. It's going to happen either way. It doesn't matter if he found out about it a week ago and you read it. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen anyway.
Exactly right.
Yeah, the world, you know, it's just noise that goes along with it. But
Yep.
the thing with Alonso, I've just been waiting for it. I've been waiting for basically one guy to come out and say this is happening, and then someone who's in Leverkusen's corner, which might be Falcon this occasion, to come out and say no, 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 and no. And this is what these guys do. They have these little sparring matches between these little, and I'm not going to call them ITKs because they're bigger and better than that. They are. They're proper. You know, these guys had to go and get journalism degrees. They, you know, they actually had to do some kind of work. You know, they just started a YouTube channel and started talking shite like some people did, and flagging them off by saying they don't know anything. It's like, well, he's got 1 million followers. He must be doing something right. Jealousy, green-eyed monsters, man, green-eyed monsters. But like, let them talk about it because it's going to happen either way. But like you said, nobody at Leverkusen or their fans wants to sit there thinking Alonso is having a meeting tomorrow or has had a meeting with Bayern, or like his agent will have been contacted by Bayern and he will have been told, and he will contact Bayern via his agent or via whatever intermediary and say something along the lines of, yeah, I might be interested in that. Let's sit down and talk at the end of the season. You know, I'm doing a job here right now, but nobody wants to think it. But Bayern and Liverpool, these big clubs, they don't sit there twiddling their thumbs waiting for the last whistle of the season and then to get on the phone because it'll be too late. You know, other people have the groundwork in place with his agent. They'll have all the contracts. They'll know what he wants and needs, and then they'll sit down and talk with the manager.
Right.
But only when
which is logical sense. It's a lot. That makes logical sense.
How it works.
Yeah.
I think Lee Wizkid knocked the nail on the head, though. I think the time it all boils down to why did Klopp do it then? We've sort of got away with it result-wise on the pitch, even though we've had them injuries. I'm just thinking, because of him saying that then, it sort of had an after effect with Alonso and his job. Lee Wizkid was saying something about disrupting, Bayern trying to disrupt Alonso's Leverkusen at the moment. And
yeah,
it could be true, bro. Yeah. So this sort of noise, we've actually escaped that. God bless you. We escaped that. As soon as Klopp said it, we actually went on a good run. We've won a cup as well. So I think that's a bit of a tactic Bayern may be using just to rock the boat a little bit.
Yeah,
they may have left it a little bit late this year. It is classic Bayern, but they may have left it a little bit late. 10 points, 10 games.
10 points
is it 10?
Yeah. There's 10 points with 10 games to go. I mean, this is a proper side as well, like Leverkusen. Yeah,
it's a wide margin
to
make up. No, even for Bayern Munich, that's a wide margin to make up.
Yeah. If you haven't lost all season, you're not losing 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, go ahead.
No, sorry, it would just take potentially. Now, I know they are famous for being Leverkusen because they were top of the league with a game to go. They were in the final of the DFB Pokal and they were in the final of the Champions League, and they lost both finals and lost out, you know, on the league on the final day. You know, that's a famous kind of, they're the famous bottle jobs almost, like. But this year, not the famous one, but they're the original kind of early 2000s. Imagine being called Never, you know, that's in your name. I do have a question. But I just mean they don't have a collapse like that left in it. They're too good, and he's too good.
Yeah, he's too
He's
good of a
too
coach.
good.
And they're too good. They're on too good of a run to see that. To foresee that happening. They're on too good of a run. But I was
They
going to
need
bring
to
up.
lose 7 players or something.
Yeah. I was going to bring up some of these comments, and then I have a question for you guys too. That just stemming off of what you just said. But let me bring up some of these comments. Lee Wiskett says Bayern are stirring the pot. Let's say it that way to distract Leverkusen from the title. It's a polite way of saying it, at least. Michael Awesome says, while Bayern are in the lead, it certainly does not leave Liverpool out. Does not mean Liverpool are no longer in the race, although their search for Jurgen Klopp's successor is complicated by the fact they are also in the process of appointing a new sporting director. You know what's very interesting too is that I did see a piece done with King Kenny. I saw an interview with King Kenny, and it was on the pursuit of it was his ideas and concepts of what's going on with Alonso or what's going on with some with some of the other coaches that are being mentioned and such and everything. And not only did he say it, but there was another interview I saw too where basically it was compounding on the fact of the sporting director more likely will be the first acquisition that we make before we have a definitive coach in mind. And that's something that to keep in mind for a lot of people out there that are very heavily on this. Are we going to get Alonso? Are we going to get the I'm going blank on his name begins with an A. Amarin, yes.
But yeah, bear this in mind. This is just on Romano. Romano said this 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. He said Liverpool will not appoint a manager until they've appointed their sporting director.
Yeah.
This is what he's been saying from day one. That will happen first because the sporting director will have a say in who the next manager. And
exactly. Someone that they can all. And it's very interesting too. I mean, some of the this weekend's or not this week's news is that I believe it's Bournemouth's. I want to say it's Bournemouth's sporting director has announced that he'll be leaving, and that some of the links have put us in possible contention on bringing him in because he's the only reason I'm bringing it up is because he's a sporting director that does have links with Michael Edwards. And there's been talks about Michael Edwards rejoining the team, but in a different facility, because he doesn't necessarily want to come back and be just a sporting director. He wants to be more like a CEO of the team or something on the lines where he can make the decisions and then have someone. And it links up or lines up a little bit easier if he has someone that he knows and someone he's worked with and can implement. Still his direction. And vision, being that in the Bournemouth sporting director and their ties. So it's an interesting connection and an interesting angle to listen to.
But just on that one, I think that's kind of come out backwards. That's been rehashed and basically come out the wrong way in terms of Edwards was offered the job, the sporting director job, and he just turned it down and said no.
Right.
He doesn't want to work in football. Like, he's got this big new consultancy company that he's started up. Like, it's a big deal. He just wants to run that. So Liverpool decided to go back and say, well, we'd be prepared to offer you the higher up job, this like the CEO job, well, the football manager job, and you were above the sport director, and therefore you would have all those powers. That was kind of came out in a way that Edwards turned it down and asked for more power. He didn't. He just said, look, no, I'm not interested. So we went back home going, well, we will offer you an even bigger and better job with loads more power. So it's us being a little bit desperate to try and get him in. It's not that he kind of said he wanted the bigger job. I don't think he's that interested in coming back at all.
I don't think he's that interested either.
No,
I mean,
it doesn't sound like.
But I don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't personally like the concept or idea that we're that we look desperate, in essence, or it
Exactly,
looked,
bro.
like,
We looking shameful on that topic. It started
yeah,
to wind me up, but certain fans are so adamant to get him in
yeah,
back that it's
Yeah.
like for me, I've always said this, like Klopp's player choices. A lot of people saying he wanted Brandt instead of Salah. Certain things like this, for example. But the Edwards guy has got more sort of football power than Klopp right now, if you understand my point.
mhm.
And the way some fans are so adamant of getting him in, yeah, he can do a top job, no doubt. He's brought in good players for good prices and stuff like that. But I just feel football has just turned so much that this guy who has nothing to do with what happens on the pitch, if you understand my point, he's not there
Mhm.
training every day with the guys, running around with them, doing stretching and stuff, talking tactics. He just brings them in, takes them out. Yeah, it's an important part of the club. Don't get me wrong, but the way some fans are treating this guy like he's God, it's just
Yeah.
like crazy,
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like people just jumping on bandwagons. Come on, man. The guy's good at his job. Don't get me wrong, but for me, Liverpool Football Club is first. People
Mhm.
always say, "Oh, I don't care about the manager and players. The club means more to me." But there will be, "Oh, this Edwards guy, he's top there. Oh, we've got to have him. We've got to have him." He's so adamant about getting him and stuff. It's just like ridiculous how football has turned into what it is today. Football guys, sporting directors are sort of more important than actually managers now. You can get a donkey of a manager in, but if he's got a sporting director who's top of the class and he can bring players in for that guy on a good budget, that manager is going to look like Pep Guardiola.
But and JK, like he's the people who didn't are the people when he joined the club, Damian Camoli hired him from Tottenham, right? People had
Mm-hmm.
never heard of Michael Edwards. They didn't know who he was. Even when we hired him, they didn't know because we were only hiring him to do data, and he moved his way up to the ranks. So that's some guy you've never heard of and ends up being brilliant. But then, yeah, you get this idea that he's the only one. He's the only guy on the planet that could possibly do it. Like you'd never heard of this guy before. There's more Michael Edwards out there. Like it's just this whole idea. Like our fans get caught up in that sometimes that if we don't get this one guy, then we may as well just burn the club down.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
no, come on. We got
Yeah.
another Kenny Dalglish. We got another Souness. We got another Shankly. We got another Paisley. There's always another guy out there. The new Michael Edwards. Go out and get him. Like if Edwards needs to be offered the keys to the kingdom, and he's been offered the keys to the kingdom, and he's still sitting there going, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure." It's like,
Yeah.
well, fucking move on, and
Yeah.
fucking move
See you
on.
later. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go. Like let's go on to the next 12 man saying if it's the dude from Bournemouth, if it's the guy from
West Ham.
whoever. Yeah, West Ham. Yeah, if it's Steindl,
I like what he
whoever it
did
is,
with the rice money, bro. What he did with
get
the
it done.
rice money and the players he brought in. Come on.
Yeah, like he convinced Kudus and Paqueta to join West Ham, even
There
though
you
they're
go.
West Ham and David Moyes is the manager. He's still
Yeah.
convinced.
There you go. Exactly
That's
that.
Edwards level.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me get some more of these comments in here. Because we got some good comments too, by the way. Bill Bidwell said that update about Zabi exactly what he thought. That there hadn't been any negotiations with Bayern. Michael Awesome also said Bayern Munich are ahead of Liverpool in the race to appoint Zabi Alonso as their new head coach. Sources have suggested that Bayern are now confident that they have the advantage in hiring Alonso should he decide to leave Bayern Leverkusen this summer. But I don't know where they're getting that confidence from. I just don't know. I just don't know how I feel. I think it's the definitive reason why Klopp said, "I'm leaving, but I'm not even if I come back to coach again, I'm not coaching in London. I'm not coaching in England." Like as in, there's a reason why you say something like that. I would think that because he's connected, because Alonso has connected his coaching futures or coaching ties with Leverkusen, it would be a smack in the face to Leverkusen for him to go on to Bayern Munich. I think that's just
It kind
my as a
it kind of
fan. That's how I would take it. As
yeah,
a fan, that's how I would take it.
it kind of is like it is a massive one, but in that league, it would be kind of it would be accepted in a way that it wouldn't be accepted in England. Let's say like it
Mhm.
they would kind of just think, well, yeah, obviously over there. Like they might think to get one more year out of him, but the fact
Mhm.
that he played for Bayern Munich for like 8 years, that's it's not like he's jumped ship to their nearest rivals. He's never played for him. Like that's just what, and loads of people are saying in chat earlier on. This is just what Bayern Munich do over there. It's really depressing. It really is. Like it's a great league
Mhm.
outside of them, but the way they just go and take what they want, who they want, and just kind of like it just shows you how good a job Klopp did to compete with them for so long. Even though every season they took one of his best players, they took
Yeah.
Mats Hummels, they took Götze, they took Lewandowski, three of the
Hmm.
best players in that team. They took them all, and if they weren't
Took them
taking
all.
them, they were trying to unsettle them. There was probably stories every couple of months about Klopp going to Bayern.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately that is just what they do, and it's yeah, there'd be uproar in certain other things, but over there it would be a kind of a depressed shrug of the shoulders, just going, yeah, typical Bayern. We can't even keep him for 2 years before they take him.
Yeah,
It's
that's a shame.
yeah,
That's
it
an
is a
ugly.
shame. It is.
That's a shame because there's a lot of talent obviously in the Bundesliga, but the way that there's positives about how the league is set up, and there's certain negatives that are certainly about how the league is set up as well. And one of those negatives is how Bayern Munich treat the rest of the league is almost as if it's like a farm league, or like a training compound for them to kind of like just pick and choose, where and
They get
utilize
to
their
watch them.
fortunes.
Yeah, they get to watch these guys up close every week,
Yep.
and then just go and pick the best.
Yeah.
But
Is what's funny is a really interesting thing too, because and again, big up to some of the heads in the chat. I tried my best. I told JK I want to be able to visit him in Germany one day, or hopefully soon. So
yeah, you are speaking German in here now. What's up, man?
yeah, so I'm doing my best to I'm doing my best to try to
You're
learn
pretty
German a
good,
little bit on
bro.
the side.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know like a couple words, but I mean, like other than that, it might be some pretty broken German, broken up German when it comes to my
Mhm,
my pronunciations or trying to basically put it into sentences. But we'll see.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, but I was going to say what was very interesting is this. So I was watching the interview with King Kenny, and he was talking about he was really going into a lot of the different things that he looked at as being the pursuits of of what's going to happen in the future for this club and everything else. But what was pretty interesting in the interview was he gave some insights that I wasn't necessarily like surprised. I was kind of surprised. King Kenny's getting to a level where he's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna say what I want to say and not necessarily care about whose feelings it hurts. So so King Kenny addressed a lot of different things when it comes to um how like nowadays, for instance, when a manager wants a player, he said, and he used to say this for himself at least, and this is during an era when a lot of the analytics and a lot of the things that we see now in today's game weren't even a part of the game in the capacity that they are now. But he's talking about how in his era, if he liked a player, he'd go and watch him. And this is going off of what you were just saying about how like Bayern Munich gets to watch all these players play. And he was saying about how the fact of like if he liked a player, he would go and actually watch that player play. He'd be in the stands and watch the player play. But like he's mentioning about how nowadays most coaches don't do that. Like Klopp's not going and watching watching a lot of some of these. He's not going to be seen in the crowd watching the game of a, for a player that he actually has his eye or his possible eye on, it just doesn't, that's kind of like a thing of yesteryear in a sense, but it's very interesting because normally when you do see it, we've seen, for instance, albeit this is the national coach for Holland. But when Coleman was in the stands, it was directly shown on television, and you got to see it, and then it made a question of what's the reason he's here? Is he the possible next coach, or is he eyeing up the Dutch talent, or seeing how some of his Dutch players are playing? You could tell that he's a little bit more old school by doing such, because you don't really see that too often. You feel what I'm saying, Brian and JK?
You can't. If you're a Premier League manager, if you're a national team manager, you get criticized if you're not at matches. You're supposed to go and watch your players, and people say, "Oh, look at him. He does nothing 9 months a year. He can't even go watch the player." Whereas, yeah, if we were, let's just say we're linked with Chiesa, and at the weekend we don't play, and Klopp is sitting there at the Juve game watching Chiesa. Exactly. Or we're interested in Diaby, and the next thing Klopp is at the Villa game. Yeah, Kenny's right. Like you could do that back in the day. You could go and sit up somewhere. You could sit at the back somewhere. Or you could go in for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then head off. But these days, yeah, any of the top managers, if they're seen at the ground, cameras on them straight away. What's he doing? Like, honest, like that Koeman thing. Koeman's the Netherlands manager. He was there to watch the Dutch players. But yeah, Klopp. When's the last time you saw Klopp at a game that wasn't at Liverpool?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Pep Guardiola. Like, Pep Guardiola can go back to Barcelona. Klopp can go back to Dortmund. But even then, they'd be like, "Oh, but he said he was just there to do this, but he was watching this guy, or he was watching that guy."
Yeah. No. And on top of that, you can definitely see that if he does show up at any game other than a Liverpool game, obviously, or at this moment, that would be a huge press.
Right now,
press, like, is this the next club he's going to, or or what is he doing here? Because he's not scouting for Liverpool, obviously, so like it'd be huge. But there's no time in the schedule. It's incredible too, because unless you're a national team coach, you probably don't have the ability to do what King Kenny was talking about, because of how consolidated the schedules are today.
Yeah. JK there? JK?
Yeah. I don't know if JK's there.
Yeah.
JK?
Yeah.
Just repeat that, 12.
What's that? I was just saying what my question was, or my statement was, nowadays you just can't do that as a coach. You can't go unless you're a national team coach, because national team, their schedules are immensely different than a club coach's schedule, and it's an interesting little. Go ahead.
And it's part of the job. It's the only way you're going to get to see some of your guys to go to these Premier League games or whatever.
Right. That's why I see. You'll see like Southgate at some of the games or something like that, or you'll see like some of these, you'll see these guys that show up because their schedule is like until they have these players in the camp, their schedule is a lot more open with what they can do and get away with traveling to go do. But when it comes to that, when it comes to actually being able to do what King Kenny says he prefers to do, there's times where it was like interesting. It was another interesting part and point of that interview was King Kenny goes, there was a question on the interview. So there was there was 3 people involved in the interview. Obviously King Kenny, and then there was like, do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think it's Sherwood. Yeah, Sherwood.
Okay. And And yeah, like basically, when he was asked, like a question about, he was asked a question about who is your all time. I think he asked who's your all time Liverpool Premier League starting 11. You could see that King Kenny did not like that question because he was like he started going off about what is it with people that think that like football starts and ends with the Premier League, and I was like,
Yeah,
I know,
bad
like, I
question to
know,
ask Kenny. Really bad question to ask the man who dominated football
yep,
just
yep,
before the Premier League came along and then won it.
exactly,
The guy
exactly.
was this guy defined pre-Premier League Liverpool dominance. And you ask him, so yeah, forget all about that shite. Let's start in
Yeah,
1992.
Mm-hmm.
Bad question.
yeah,
Tim Sherwood, what a
yeah.
moron.
He was Tottenham manager.
He was.
Yeah.
They were. It was
For like
definitely.
4 minutes.
It was a unique. It was a unique energy in the room when they were sitting across the table from each other. And you had the interviewer. There was like a female interviewer there that was asked that question, and like I felt bad for her because I'm sure there's questions that they basically made her ask. And when she asked the premier question, he was just like he had this like yeah he had his like what do you call it, like the old like the old man on the porch, like you young whippersnappers, get off my yard, that kind of concept,
But
kind of
you don't
vibe
even
going on.
you don't even have to be that old to be offended by the 1992 things. But like, I get why Sherwood is interviewed. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But he's just not someone I would want to be coming up with questions for.
Yeah, yeah.
Who
You know,
Tim Sherwood?
yeah, Sherwood,
Yeah.
like he's part of the title winning side. Like
Mhm.
he won the league with Kenny, so that's why they should have gotten Colin
Yeah.
Hendry or someone like that. But like
Mhm.
Kenny Dalglish to be someone who, like, even when he was like younger or whatever, like he's famous. Like he has like that kind of Irish sense of humor. It's very dry, like really, like it's as dry as like fucking Death Valley. Like. This guy will say something and just walk away, and he will not even come back or wink or a little smile or nothing like that. And if you don't know he's joking, like that's his sense of humor. So as he gets older, he gets even less, So he's not brilliant for the kind of the younger generation type interview because he's just like, hey, I get this shit, this, it's just like no time for any of that crap. He was like I mean, like that quote that Ian Rush gets hung out to dry for. There's a famous quote. Um, he went to Juventus and record sign a big deal. He left Liverpool. He comes back to Liverpool after a year. And Kenny Dalglish was asked about it. Kenny Dalglish said, "Oh, Ian said, he felt like it felt like living in a foreign country." You know what I mean? As if to say, he was so stupid, like that. Italy is a foreign country, you idiot. It's just like, oh, it was just like living in a foreign country. For 20, 30 years, everyone attributed that quote to Ian Rush. Ian Rush never said that. Kenny Dalglish just
Mhm.
said in an interview to take the piss out of. And it's been it's been reported ever since. Like he's an out like he's a troll, basically, Kenny Dalglish, and he was doing it to like people back in the day. He was like hanging his own players out to dry for being stupid, and Ian Rush is just looking about it. I never said that.
Mhm.
And then it's
Mhm.
been like it's gone down in Liverpool folklore, as in like if you look up stupidest things ever said by a footballer, it'll be a quote, and then it'll be Ian Rush, and it wasn't. It was Kenny Dalglish.
Yeah. This I like King Kenny, obviously, for many different reasons. I get his angst at saying that, like he could have definitely uh, he definitely could have, like, not had such an intimate tone about the question, because I mean, like, I felt so bad for her. I'm like, it's an era where a lot of the people tuning in, they might know who King Kenny is, but they know him as
Man,
King
they
Kenny,
didn't.
not not as
The man
just
don't give
Kenny.
a fuck. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, the
yeah.
man don't give a fuck. He's a bad choice for Sky Sports. Sky Sports should know better. Kenny Dalglish is not good for
Oh, is
that.
that who the interview was with? I don't know if it
Oh,
was Sky Sports.
sorry, I didn't see it. I was just assuming it was Sky Sports. I haven't actually seen it. I
It
was just assuming it was
was
Sky Sports.
it was some other.
It was
What
some
was
other.
it?
It was some other. Yeah, it wasn't Sky Sports. It was like some other
Was it the
broadcast.
TNT guy?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't necessarily like a big. I don't even know if it's a big name like that. It was just like I don't know. Or at least where I saw it, at least someone in the chat probably will give us the answer to it. But
It might have been one
it
of
was just
those
a
like
fun little
Premier League production
angle.
kind of thing.
I quickly just want to go back to 12. You know why managers nowadays don't go to go and watch players like they did in the old days, wearing a big coat and a cap so no one recognises you? It's because
Mhm.
the cameras they have in the game now, a manager can just watch like 20 videos and it'll be like, okay, I know the guy how he plays. In the old days,
Mhm.
they probably sent a
This
scout
is
out,
true.
maybe
This is
stuff
true.
like that. And
Mhm.
it's a bit different now. I think you'll get even cameras now where you can just watch the game of one player, for example. I think that's coming
Mhm.
soon, where you can just
Oh no,
focus on
yeah,
one guy.
they
Yeah.
used to
They
have
used
that
to do
before
that.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they did. They used to have that on Sky, didn't they?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Player watch, or player cam.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
called
Player
player
watch.
cam.
Yeah.
yeah,
And you could just select.
yeah.
So you could just go into the thing, and it wouldn't be every player, but I think they'd have like 2 or 3 available or
Yeah,
something. And
all
you
the
could
big
just
Mhm.
pick
ones.
like Wayne Rooney or pick Gareth
That's,
Bale or something.
I'll tell you a funny thing about that interview too, real quick, is that so the choices that they made for their all-time 11, Premier all-time 11, I believe for Tim, he did not pick Mane as his left wing. And the player he picked technically didn't play left wing that often, if at all, for us. But he picked McManaman as his left wing choice over Mane.
Oh, he picked a Liverpool 11. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Tim Sherwood.
yes,
Oh, quick.
yeah. Because the interviewer set it up where she was like, okay, I'll let Tim go first, and then I'll have King Kenny, basically, give his comment and his own choices after Tim gave his, and yeah, that was an interesting choice. I thought that was a very
Yeah,
interesting choice.
he
Like
he never.
I don't want to misquote him, but I think going back to what I remember, his starting 11 was Ali in goal. He had Trent. He had Hippia. He had Virgil, and he had Trent, Hippia, Virgil, and I think he put Robertson in at the left back. And then his midfield was what was his midfield?
Was it 4-3-3?
Yeah, 4-3-3.
Okay.
His midfield was, I think he played, I want to say he picked Barnes as a left mid, I want to say.
Yeah, that's good.
And then he picked, I think who else he picked, and because he picked Henderson in that lineup.
Obviously, Gerrard, right?
And Gerrard. Yeah, I don't know why I was going blank on that. Yeah. But
So
yeah,
Barnes,
he picked
Gerrard, and Henderson was his midfield three.
Yeah, he picked Barnes, Gerrard, and Henderson. And
Wow.
King Kenny's pushback against that which is what I would say. And again, this is why I say that he is a legend to me. I get that he didn't play as long as we would have liked him to have played for Liverpool. But and big up to M. Tarmizi. Big up to M. Tarmizi in the house.
Probably
Would love
running
to.
up Kilimanjaro or something.
Yeah, you're right. No, he said, I'd love to hear Tarmizi's comments on this. He had Hendo as the he had Alonso as his choice in the midfield. He said
Kenny
that he would have. Yeah, he said he would put
Yeah, yeah,
Alonso in that midfield.
of course, because he knows quality when he sees.
Obviously,
Barnes,
Brian is not one of Tim Sherwood's biggest fans, to say the
no,
least.
no, 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 no. Barnes, Alonso, and Gerrard in a midfield three is pretty much perfect. So how you could have even think about putting Henderson in there, I don't know. But we
I don't
spoke about
understand
Henderson
it either,
before.
but he gave an actual reasoning behind his pick. He commented about the fact that there's so many. He actually said that he believes that Henderson was the greatest Premier League captain in Liverpool history, and that Henderson was a better captain than Steven Gerrard.
Jesus.
How about that? How about that to the chat? How's that make you feel out there in the chat?
You know
we're
what it is?
closing
It's
in on the
because
90th minute. The plane's hitting a little turbulence.
that's the turbulence
But
now.
buckle up. We're coming in for a landing.
Yeah, but I think it's just because he won the Premier League, I reckon. They won the Champions League each, him and Gerrard. So
Okay.
if that Premier League title makes Henderson a better captain than Gerrard or Player or whatever, that's crazy.
That's how he referenced it. Yeah, I know you saw the
Okay.
interview too, but that's also one of the reasons why he gave his reasoning behind it, is that Premier League title really, really made a difference in his determination, in the valuation, I should say, of the two. I don't
Yeah,
agree
but
with
that's
that.
so stupid because Henderson played under Klopp, right? That
Yeah,
argument falls apart instantly. I believe
if
when I
Gerard, yeah,
say, yeah, but when I say Steven Gerrard could have done everything Jordan Henderson did, Jordan Henderson couldn't have done half of what Steven Gerrard did on the
True.
football pitch. If Jordan Henderson, if Gerrard had been 24 when Klopp joined Liverpool, Henderson wouldn't exist. He would have been the Henderson, that box-to-box midfield role, covering right back. Gerrard started his first few games for Liverpool as a right back. I'm not saying he's a right back, just throwing that in there. But he would have been able to do all of that work. He would have been able to do everything Jordan Henderson did, and a million times more. Jordan
oh,
Henderson
absolutely,
ain't doing
absolutely,
what he did in Istanbul. He ain't doing what he did against West Ham. He ain't,
yeah,
becoming an
right.
icon for this club like the way that Gerrard did.
Right.
There's just no way. Yeah.
I'm not looking for Henderson in Istanbul to
No.
come out of that locker room and basically put the team on his back and bring us glory. How about that? That's never happening.
Yeah.
So most
It's such a
likely
weird
in
choice.
all of Henderson's brilliance.
It's
And
not
even
even English
Henderson,
bias. You can't even say it's an English bias, though, can you? Because
no, no.
normally it would be like, oh, they just pick the English guy, like the likes of Tim
Right,
Sherwood. Like,
right.
it's a choice between an English guy and a foreign guy. They'll always just pick the English guy. But to
Even
do it
Henderson
between
has
like
come out to say,
Gerrard and Henderson, I mean, come on, Tim.
It's going to
there's
be
quotes now
controversial.
too. Oh, go ahead, JK. No, I'll say the quote.
No, I
Go
just
ahead.
like sometimes you got to take what you hear with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, grain of salt. Yeah.
You don't know. We don't know Tim Sherwood, how he is, what he really, really thinks. When you read, you can ask 1 million people. 999,000 of them will say Gerrard is the better captain, player, everything, everything. Henderson and Sherwood would say he'd be the one. He would say, "Nah, Henderson was better." So I just leave it like that.
Maybe that's why he
I can
failed as a manager, because he was making such terrible decisions on who were better players. Maybe that's why he lasted 5 minutes at Spurs. Like, you can tell a good player from a bad one. Like he's the guy. He famously, after he made this big, when he got sacked by Spurs, he went on this big PR thing around the media, because he'd go on any show talking about how he had a better win percentage than all these other managers, which is all just nonsense. But he came out saying that he discovered Harry Kane, and that just finished him in the media, because everyone pointed out like he'd played for Spurs before Sheridan got there, You say, oh, I was unfairly sacked. I discovered Harry Kane. I did this, I did that. It's like, Tim, you did not discover Harry Kane. It's just the guy hasn't had a job in management in about 10 years for really good reason.
It's mad,
Yeah. Yeah. There has been a report actually of Henderson coming out and saying he has no, ill will against Liverpool. He understands, especially
Oh,
considering
really?
he
Does he not?
understands why the team needed to move away from him as a player. I actually give him
Okay.
props for saying what he actually said, which was basically he gets it. Like it was time for him to move on because he couldn't continue to be at the level that Liverpool needed. And I was like, that's commendable, in the fact that he was willing
To
to.
move on to Saudi Arabia for 600 grand a week. Yes, that's so big of him to understand why we were. Yeah, that
It's not
really.
like he left on a free, Brian. It's not like he left on a
It's
free, though. That's
amazing. It's
why I was
amazing
getting.
that he understands. No, it's amazing that he understands why. That's so amazing that he
You
doesn't
better
have any
watch out.
guilt.
I don't know if the Nature Boy is. I don't think you can obviously tell the Nature Boy is not in the chat, but he would be doing some.
Toe to toe with anyone
Woo!
in this stuff.
I'm
I go
sure
toe
he
to toe
hears.
with anybody in the Henderson.
Yeah,
I go toe to toe with anyone because they're all on. Well, their opinions are built on sand.
yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there
There
you
you go.
go. There you go.
Someone had that ears out. Yeah.
It's like Candyman. You just say Candyman 3 times in
Yeah.
the mirror, and there he appears.
That's not weird at all. That's not weird at all, Savage. That's not weird at all.
Yeah,
Savage is CIA. Savage is obviously CIA now.
yeah. There you go. There you go.
There you
How about though? How about the comment though that he put that he didn't have Mane in at left wing.
Yeah,
Was
well,
that
look, if he wants to go with
like it?
McManaman, he's just playing wrong. Like, that's the
Okay.
look. If he doesn't like Mane, fair enough. But in today's
I
game,
don't know. I don't know who King Kenny. I don't know who King Kenny had as his three. I don't remember King Kenny's front three actually. Um, I'd have to, maybe JK. I don't know if you know or remember, or if anyone in the chat knows who King Kenny's front three was that he picked. But
no idea. No idea.
but yeah, but it was
But I don't
interesting.
know.
I'm only putting that,
JK,
Brian.
right.
Brian, I was
I
only
just
putting that
wondering.
out there. I was only putting that out there real quick. I was only putting that out there because I remember when we were doing that greats and legends and icons list that we were doing and everything such, and how I was basically making a point about how good McManaman was for this team and how good of a player he was in general, even after he left our team and went to, another big name club and still performed at exceptional levels. That's what I was
Gordon
just
two
trying to get
Champions League finals.
I think McManaman's
Gordon
career
two
has done the
Champions League
job.
finals.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's scored in 2 Champions League finals.
Yeah.
He doesn't get any stick. Owen gets stick for leaving to go to, like, if you ask some fans, they tell you that Owen left on a free and went to Madrid, and we got money from McManaman. McManaman left on a free and went to Madrid.
Mhm.
He 98, I think. We got money for Owen. We got 16 million at Nunes because he was going within a year, and his knees were done, his hamstrings were done. But McManaman doesn't get any of the hate that I know Owen gets it for United, but Owen got a lot more hate before he joined United because he
Mhm.
abandoned Liverpool or whatever. But McManaman did it before he did, went to the same club. And because he had
Mhm.
so much success and everyone loved McManaman because he was like one of the Spice Boys, one of the original Scousers. But this is the thing, KJS, this is what I'm saying. Owen was getting more hate than Macca did before he joined United. Even by the time Owen got to Newcastle, he was hated more for leaving than
Mhm.
Macca ever was for leaving. And Macca left
Mhm.
on a free. We didn't get a penny for him. And this was in a time
Mhm.
when someone like Onaman would have been worth around 15 million quid, which would be about 70 million quid today's money, right?
Mhm.
So he went off, had a great career. But the thing, obviously, you can't put him in left wing because of where he played for us, because he never, yeah, he would have shown up there a few times. But he always said himself he never wanted to play right wing. He always wanted to play in centre midfield. Like, say, the attack, like the Sabazlai role, the creative one in the three in the midfield. That's what he always wanted to do.
Mhm.
But he was a bit, that was just back in the day, so he always played on the wing. But I reckon today a player like Manaman probably would be playing on the left and cutting in on his right. But it was just back
Right.
then you played right footers on the right and left footers on the left, and that's just what
It
you
was
did.
more cut and dry. It was more cut and dry,
Yeah.
where like depending on like your whatever foot
That
you
whole
were, that's
cutting in thing. Yeah, you played if you're right footed, you played on the right wing. But today McManaman would almost certainly be playing on the left of the front three or on left wing kind of, and cutting in on his right, if not playing as an attacking midfielder. So, but yeah, no, Tim Sherwood, he's not having that. He can't have him at left wing because he never did that for Liverpool. Not nowhere near enough to be our greatest ever, let alone like one of our best, but to be our best ever Premier League left winger, a guy he probably played, a few games there. No way, not a chance.
I'm trying to think of who they put on there. Now it's gonna make me mad because I gotta remember which one it was.
What did you find out, bro?
Real quick question. How about this then? Real quick question to the chat. What would be your, and this is just for the Premier League, okay? And value their career in the Prem, because I know certain players might have played in the Premier League, but it wasn't necessarily their best years of their careers, namely like a John Barnes, like he played in the Premier League, but he was certainly, beyond brilliant before the Premier League.
No, he was done basically by the 96.
Right.
So all of Barnes' best football, most of it was
right.
When he joined in 87, I think he joined in 87, Premier League 92.
And I'm talking John Barnes, not Bajan Barnes.
I know Barnes. Yeah. So I know what you get, like, because I'm big on that as well. Like,
that distinction is out there.
Yeah, like you can say like our best ever player, our best ever Premier League player. If a guy only played like one season in the Premier League, he might be one of our greatest of all time, but he only played one season in the Premier League.
Right.
Yeah. So but
like
still, Barnes.
How about we do this? We do you can take to qualify for the role of whatever left wing, striker, and right wing. We're gonna do a 4-3-3. So to make it such, you can say, you can just dictate your reasoning for that player being included in that position by a whatever 1 year performance he had in the Prem. So like you don't necessarily go his whole catalog of his Premier League or whatever, or maybe this player's played longer than this other player in the league or something like that. Just saying on outright best, take their best year as being their Willy Wonka golden ticket, to the factory. Who would be your front three for Liverpool? Who would be your front three? And we can start with JK with this one. And to the chat, please tell me your answers, and I'm going to include them in our selection. We're now past the 90th minute, so we're landing. We're about to taxi on the runway here. But I wanted to have a little quick fun question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You could have Salah and Suarez there straight away.
Right, and yeah, Salah and Suarez, okay, and could like players like Coutinho, Owen, Torres, they all qualify, right?
Okay, but so I've got Salah and Suarez up top, so I need one more guy. It's either Bobby, Mane, maybe Torres.
Think about it 1 second, JK. I'm gonna help out Dustin because he asked me to clarify the question. So okay, what I'm asking for is who is your left wing, your striker, and your right wing, and you can justify your selections by saying, like, I don't know, but like for instance, you could say Suarez if you wanted to in the striker position because he had possibly one of the best years of any striker in the Premier League in the history of the Premier League. And you can say that's the reason why you have him as the striker in that role. Or maybe you say Fernando Torres, you know, in that role, because that was one of the greatest, you know, one of the most dominant years we've seen a striker for Liverpool. Something like those lines. You can justify it by just a single year of performance being in your selection. If you had to pick 3 teams, so basically, the best way to put it is if you're making a FIFA team on, you know, and you had to pick 3 players, left wing, striker, and right wing, what would be the year and the player that you put in those positions?
In a 4-3-3 as well, so not like left
In a
winger.
4-3-3.
Yeah,
Yes.
left-sided
striker.
forward, right-sided forward. So
Right.
it's your front 3.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
And
you make him
in that way, in this way, you can use like for KJ, for instance, you can use prime Sturridge. You know, you could use like you know what I mean? Like you could use a, you know, again, a prime Suarez, or you could use a prime Michael Owen, you know, or you could use a prime Salah, whoever you want to use, but you gotta say, I'm gonna go with this player, this player, this player.
Yeah.
It's a tough question, actually. Now that I just gave a little context to it, because there's a lot of candidates, if you use it that way.
have you got one,
We've got some
JK?
good ones. Yeah, I couldn't just John Barnes is not involved, is he?
I mean, if he had a great year, you'd have to say, because like for instance, Steven's saying Barnes' best years, for instance, were 1987 to 1991. So I mean,
See, there was
like,
Barnes on the left, and there was Barnes when he dropped back into midfield. So I think we were kind of counting Barnes out a bit just in terms of lack of Premier League appearances.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, like, because he walks in. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd kind of maybe count him out. Maybe. Count out Barnes.
If I'm gonna put him in there, I'm gonna go Barnes, Suarez, Salah. If you can have him. If not, I'll go Mane, Suarez, Salah.
What year? See, because like then, what year would you put Barnes as? What year are you saying is like the standout Premier League year for Barnes that would make him be better than a prime, you know, prime year, Golden Boot, you know, Mane year, for instance, you know, like I don't think that Barnes is.
JK wasn't expecting follow-up question.
Yeah, I guess not. I know.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Couldn't
Go
give
easy.
me a book.
There's some interesting choices coming in. This is the complimentary champagne that is being offered on our flight today.
I'll take the flat off
what it is, a lot of people picking Salah, Mane, and it's the guy in the middle. It's either Torres, Suarez, or Bobby. So, but I'm gonna if I can go Barnes, I'll go with Barnes, Suarez, Salah. If not, I'll go Mane, Suarez, Salah. And I've seen Suarez a lot when he was at the club play at Anfield, and best footballer I've ever seen with my own eyes. It was just different class. I think that year where we went for the title, that year he was just crazy.
Yeah.
Salah, you can pick anyone.
Hylor puts it out to you and says, Firmino, Mane, Salah, the way they clicked was unheard of, but put any other player in there and the sync would disappear. You couldn't put Suarez, in his opinion, in that mix to have the same results. Very interesting. Very interesting. So he's basically saying you get the reason why you get prime Salah or prime Mane is because of prime Bobby, in essence. You know, you move that out and you put a Suarez in there. Maybe Salah and Mane don't see the ball as often, or you know, or the chemistry isn't as like fluid.
I put it on Klopp as much as that now, but like my front 3 would be. Just because we're going again, like with Owen and Fowler, and individual seasons. As much as Owen won 2 Golden Boots and a Ballon d'Or by the time he was 21, left Liverpool, which is just unnatural. Like, the guy was winning Golden Boots when he's 5 years younger than Phil Foden, 5 years younger 6 years younger than Darwin Núñez, winning the Ballon d'Or. You know, like this
Absolutely
guy
amazing
was.
accomplishments. Yeah.
Oh, he was a phenomenon. He was a phenomenon. Never forget it. Like. But
Mhm.
I'll go with a bit kind of more biasy in terms of my favorite player. So if we're doing it in a 4-3-3, I would have Suarez
Oh,
as
based
my
on
left.
mines. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Suarez as my left-sided forward, Fernando Torres in the middle, and Salah on the right.
So wait,
I think
you're doing Suarez,
yeah,
Torres, and
and Salah.
Salah.
Yeah, in a front three of Suarez in the kind of Diaz role or the Mane role, but more of an
Okay.
inside forward.
Oh, like a left inside forward role, basically.
Yeah, proper front four. Like he's not playing on the left wing; he's playing in a
He's not playing
4-3-3.
left wing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
so
you.
Suarez
Yeah.
and Salah either side of Fernando Torres. Holy hell! Holy hell! That's 3 players in it who have scored over 30 goals in individual Premier League seasons. I think I've
Did
got a
someone put that in the chat?
32.
Chat.
Yeah, I've got a 32, a 31, and a 33. I think in there. I've all 3 of them are plus because you want context on best season. Every
Uh-huh.
single one of them has plus 30 goals in a Premier League season, and very few players ever do that. And Owen didn't even do that.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
that's over 9. That's nearly 100 plus goals in individual best season.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Plus, it's
Let me get this.
also plus it's
Let me
also
get.
freaking Torres, Suarez, and I
I
mean, come
know
on, who
that
wants
is
to be facing that?
it's a pretty nasty front three, to
It's
be honest.
nasty. It's nasty.
Um, Let me get some of the inclusions from the chat here. The love we have for players is unconditional. Our betrayal makes us cut ties with former superstars like Owen, Torres, and Coutinho, etc. I mean, Coutinho could be a shout too, by the way. That's why I was like, Coutinho had an incredibly amazing year for us, and he did play up front for us on occasion.
I just want to quickly say something about
Yeah.
when you watch football now, then you get people like McManaman and Owen co-commentating or co-presenting on the shows. There's no love for Liverpool when you really look at it. Like when you look at Gary Gillespie, yes, he's number one for me, Gary Gillespie, when he's on the LFC channel, the love he has for the club when he presents, you can just feel it, you know? And
Yeah.
McManaman and Owen, for some reason, never ever give us any love. Like, it's just
No,
crazy. And I'm thinking,
that's the
McManaman,
reason why I say it. They
yeah,
understand. They hurt their legendary status to me
yeah,
personally when quote unquote former legends of your club do that kind of like presentation with their representation of the club. I know I got about 5 more minutes here, so I'm gonna make sure I get all these chat comments in because I want to make sure we all hear their selections. KJ said Prime Sturridge is fire. Steven says I'm picking Owen in his prime. KJ also says Torres, Suarez, and Sturridge, or you have to go with the old familiar, the old-fashioned Mane, Firmino, and Salah. Hylor says, oh, I mentioned that already. Dustin says Owens, Barnes, and Salah, or put in Bobby. And KJ says, if I could ever see a prime front three of Torres on the left wing, Suarez in the striker, and Sturridge in the right wing, oh my gosh. That would be, you talk about deadly. That would be
You're wasting
mad
Suarez.
deadly, man.
You're wasting Suarez there.
You think that'd be wasteful?
Oh, you're wasting Torres
You
on
think
the left. Don't be silly.
Oh, you
You put
wasted time.
Fernando
Okay,
in
I got it.
Yeah. You put
Put
Fernando in the
Fernando in the
9.
middle and then put Suarez on the
Or
left.
Suarez to the left, yeah. Or even Dan. And put Suarez. Like, Suarez can play absolutely anywhere. Absolutely.
Suarez is a football. It's football.
One of
But
no
spirit as
Football
well.
IQ is incredible.
Suarez has had one of the greatest individual seasons in Premier League history. Right. This can't go. This cannot go. Like I know. Let's just say, bro has issues. Right. He didn't. He didn't. But he scored. I'm not going to look this up, and I haven't looked this up. So correct me if I'm wrong. Right. He scored 32 goals. He scored 32 goals in the Premier League season. Okay? I think that's correct. Now, that is phenomenal. To score 32 goals in a Premier League season is completely and utterly phenomenal. Right? Two other things. 31. Okay, Dustin, 31. Okay, phenomenal. Right. Two other things. He was banned for the first 5 games and he didn't take any penalties. So that's 31 goals from open play, no penalties.
Yep.
That is utterly ridiculous.
I know. Yeah, I know.
And let's just say that's
let that sink in. Yeah.
Go back and look at those goals. Some of them are some of the best goals any Liverpool player has ever scored.
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
like it's just all the same type of type of goals.
Raheem
It's not like
Sterling,
it's all
16 tap-ins. Yes.
Yeah.
This guy was the complete package.
Yeah.
The complete
he
package.
Really was. He really was.
No penalty. Yes, and that's it. The team he was playing in.
Yeah.
Was certainly not the best. Yeah.
Not as good as Salah's, the one he's played in, for sure.
And then he went to Spain. Formed one of the most lethal partnerships of all time, the MSN, and in one season beat Ronaldo and Messi in the Golden Boot in Spain.
He was the best player in the world.
Went in and scored Messi and Ronaldo. I think he scored 52 in a season. Utterly,
it helps when Messi is also facilitating facilitating some of those assists to you.
But
Suarez was the best player in the world for a while.
He was, man. For about 2 seasons.
Certainly, yeah. That was said actually by Dustin. He says, 2013, 2014, Suarez was the best in the world.
Ask Norwich fans. Ask Norwich consecutive hat-tricks. And 2 of those hat-tricks, I think, in one of those hat-tricks was 2 contenders for Match of the Day, Goal of the Month. And they only have 8, right? 2 of the goals from one of those hat-tricks was in the Goal of the Month competition. One of them was in Goal of the Season. And in the other hat-trick, at least one of them was Goal of the Month. I probably won it. The guy was from a different planet. Sorry, he was from a completely different planet.
Yeah. No, he was. No, let me get the rest of these selections in here, and then we'll be able to allow everyone to depart, go on to your final destinations if this isn't the final destination for you. KJ says if you pick Mane and Salah, it's a crime not to include Bobby. Ilor says Suarez is the best striker he has ever seen up close at Liverpool. What he did was at times unnatural. Again, big up to Beijing Pops. I think he's got a selection in there too. He says, Steven says, I'm having Owen, Suarez, and Gerrard as my front 3. I don't know if you can get Steven Gerrard in the front 3, but I mean,
Rafa wanted him. Rafa wanted him up there.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I stand corrected.
No, nice shout, JK. Actually, nice shout. Owen and Suarez and Gerrard just in behind him in a diamond.
Nice. Like having maybe Gerrard as like a 10 or something like that.
Yeah, Gerrard is a 10 in a diamond, and Owen and Suarez.
That would be nasty. That would be nasty. That would be nasty. I don't know. I personally, I get, and this is again, Michael Owen's one of my, one of the reasons why I became a Red supporter. But like, I personally would, in that format, I would sooner, because maybe it's because of the memories of what I've seen, I would sooner have Torres in than Owen. And I'm not, it's not a slight to say that he's better or this or that. It's more so maybe it's just,
I think Torres gets in all my team.
yeah.
Torres gets
I
in
just
all my team. Like, he
Prime
doesn't get in
Torres
my
was
all
just
time.
next. Prime Torres was my favorite player on this as one of my favorite players of all time as a Liverpool player.
He gets in all of my Premier League ones, but as soon as you go to all time Liverpool 11s, he does. So
yeah,
as soon
he'll
as it's
fall out because
Premier League,
of his
I'm
his
happy
overall
when we do
his
that.
overall record makes him fall off. But if you're just taking that one, if you could just go off of 1 year, yeah,
But
in my
the
opinion,
problem is, like this is what we always say. The issue is, this is because we have some of the greatest players of all time. So when you start going
Heiler
full
says that
11,
too. Yeah,
it's like I love it when it's Premier League because then I can instantly just go, yeah, Torres and Alonso, they're in. But as soon as you start going all time, it's like, yeah, I might have to drop. Yeah, you're always going to have to drop at least two of the best players you've ever seen just to pick 11. That's how
yeah,
special
especially when it comes to our attack. Yeah, when it comes to our attack, yeah.
So Brian, you're going with the. Imagine you had two choices. You got Alonso and Torres, or Suarez and Gerrard for your team. You'd go with Alonso and Torres, yeah.
Oh,
12?
you bastard! You absolute bastard!
I'm going Torres. I'm going Suarez and Gerrard for me. If I had to pick out of them section.
Whoa, that is
dirty. That's dirty.
That's horrible.
That's a dirty, dirty question. Yeah.
What you going 12 for Man City Sunday?
Oh, for Man City Sunday. Okay, better question. Okay, yeah, for Man City Sunday.
You know what's
Suarez.
funny is that question was asked. That sort of question was asked in the interview with the King Kenny. If he could give any player, to Klopp for the title run, the reporter put it. Who would it be? But I guess those would be your tour players. I got you, JK. Who would you, Brian? Go ahead. You want to say who you want to pick?
Yeah, well, that's one of the worst decisions I've ever been asked to make. Yeah, that's proper. Like, but for City, just because we're in a title run, that Stevie G mentality and that Suarez unbeatability. Yeah, for that. Yeah, the mentality. Yeah. I mean, you're asking me to drop two of my all-time favorites, but for those, yeah, the mentality of those two players, Gerrard and Suarez, yeah, definitely them two for City, yeah.
That's mine.
I'm going to take your question. Since we're at the end, we're right about to land the plane. We're actually on the tarmac, actually. But I'm going to I'll do a screenshot of your question, and I'll be sure to make that a question for next time. We can go a little bit more in depth in that because that could be almost an episode in itself right there. And possibly High Lord, you could be a part of that. Maybe we can try to include you in the discussion on that one, because just going off of what you said, yeah, High Lord says we have been pretty spoiled as LFC supporters with really good strikers, midfielders, and defenders, but really good goalkeepers have been the rarest players to see. That's why Alisson is so important. I wanted to bring up also Bayesian Pop's selection because he's a fellow football. Excuse me, he's a fellow football romantic. Prime Suarez over Prime Mo. Oh wow, that hurts, man. Some of these questions hurt when you say them out loud.
No, I agreed with him. That was at me, obviously, and I agreed. I think actual prime Suarez over the prime. I think you're talking about again, King Solomon job. Split the baby in half. It's like it has to be prime Suarez, but that just shows you how good Suarez is. Not about.
His selections were Mane, Suarez, and Mo. So he's going. He's basically substituting Bobby for Suarez. Interesting. Interesting. KJ had Suarez and Torres interchange. Torres had the pace, Suarez didn't. Steven says Gary Gillespie is one of his favorite 80s defenders.
Yeah.
Gillespie. There's another question on here. He says Steven says Owen would score more goals. And then Philip says, as great as Fowler was for us, I'm not sure he could operate in a front three like he did in a front two. That's a good shout. I mean, like, yeah, you know, it's a little bit, excuse me, the channels and the space that you're afforded is different when you have a front two as opposed to a front three. I will agree with that. And, you know, it'd be interesting to see how Fowler would work out in this system, especially with all the fluidity, like as in, would he be able, I know he primarily wanted to stay more centrally focused with his approaches, but, you know, would he be able to play on the right? Would he be able to play out on the left the way that we see our forwards play? Be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't
Dustin
think he'd
says,
have any problem, to be honest, but
yeah, I'm sure he'd work it out. He'd work it out one way or another, I'm sure.
Fowler would be like, if Fowler was playing today, he would be like a Benzema or Lewandowski.
Yeah.
You know, he'd just be he's so lethal. He'd be in a, yeah, I think he'd be a Lewandowski. That's what he'd be like.
Yeah. So Dustin says for the title run, he would bring in Bobby and Suarez. Oh man,
Bobby?
Yeah. No, that's a good shout. I don't mind Bobby. Prime Bobby
Bobby was the man. Whoa.
He was the man, dude. I mean,
He
like
was the man.
he was the. If we could have the versatility of that front. Imagine if our front three strikers were Bobby, Suarez, and Nunez at the moment, right?
Ooh.
You'd have like it'd be like pick your poison. It'd be like pick your poison.
It's a bit unbalanced.
You think it's unbalanced?
With Nunez, so you'd have Nunez on the left, Bobby dropping.
No. He's saying. I meant just as our striker selections, not.
As the front. Yeah. Oh no, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like as in when it came to you, those are the three names you'd have to pick from every game to decide on.
Suarez in this club team, you have at least one more league title and maybe another European Cup.
Yeah.
But we have at least two more major trophies with a prime Suarez in this team.
100%.
Realism JR says Alonso, Suarez, or Gerrard and Torres. I got you. That's what the question was.
Ooh. No, that's the other way around. He switched Suarez with Torres.
Yeah. That's a good shout, to be honest with you. That's a really good shout.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Gerrard loved Suarez. Gerrard loved playing with Torres and Alonso.
He loved playing with both. Yeah.
He was heartbroken when Alonso, he really was. He went all out to try and stop those boys leaving. But him and Torres had that kind of just totally telepathic, don't even look. Like Gerrard was playing football. They weren't no-look passes. They were just, he didn't need to look. He just played a ball and know where Torres was. They had one of the best partnerships we've ever had at Liverpool, I think. Like that when they were at their prime. Gerrard and Torres competing. But like we were saying earlier on, in a title run-in, the combined mentality and will to win, and I mean, fucking going into the trenches with, no weapons, kind of will to win of a Gerrard and a Suarez pushes this team over the line more than as much as an Alonso and a Torres might.
Yeah, Beijing Pop says, this is directed to you, Laszlo. He says, it's Stevie G and Suarez. No disrespect to Alonso and Torres.
And he knows, and Pops knows, Pops knows me a long time. He knows how much, he knows I'm not a fanboy. He knows I despise fanboys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I not despise it, but it's not something I've ever done. But he knows how much I love those two players,
Yeah,
especially
that's why I
along.
asked it.
yeah.
So but
It
it
that's
shows you,
that's
man. I can think, I can use my mind, and I can say, yeah, as much as I do love them,
I like
those
that.
other two boys right now would get you over the goddamn line. They'd kill to get you over the line. Can you
yeah.
imagine
We're gonna do.
Suarez?
We're gonna have to
Nom,
do.
nom,
We should
nom, nom,
do. We should do an
over the line.
episode. We'll do. Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say we should do an episode like this. So we'll fine tune an episode. We'll include Hylor's question that I screenshot, and we'll like also put in a couple different things and try to figure out like player by player. We'll do an LFC player by player, who is like play the same way that we definitively said who would be our front three. You can just use 1 year to define. You'd have to say what year it was that you're going to use as your reasoning and the player's name, and we'll make it all-time 11 out of that. We'll make it all-time 11. I think that'd be a fun little ride because there's going to be a lot of difficult decisions to make in
Yeah, but
those.
if you have four choices like us three and the chat, you can just go with the average for each position out of us
Yeah.
four.
Oh,
That'd be cool.
I'll include everyone's input as well. As you know how I do,
That could be
man.
easy.
I'm a man
There
of the
probably won't be
people.
any arguments at all.
Huh? Say it one more time, Brian.
That should be really easy. There won't be any arguments at all in the chat about who's best. That's the worst
Yeah,
thing about 11, man. They
right.
are brutal. Like, if you're a
Yeah,
fan of Spurs or something, it's probably really easy to pick your
yeah,
best all-time 11. I mean, doing it for Liverpool, it's absolutely brutal because it's like, so you've left out Suarez, or you've left out Kenny Dalglish, you left out this. Yeah, it's
right.
it's never good, man. So you have to come
Yeah,
with some fairly good kind of, this is why ideas behind it, because just
I
the
like that.
players we have to leave out.
Using some big words there. Robbie Fowler is the only ambipedal player I remember at Liverpool. Fowler, trained by Klopp, would be a scary thought. That's what Hyler says. He says using both
Nobody needed
feet
to train
as
Robbie
foot.
Fowler.
Don't know the word. Oh, that's what. Oh,
Yeah,
I got you. Thank you for that.
yeah,
Yeah, that was like the word of the day right there. I like that, Hyler. Appreciate your
yeah. His left
contributions.
foot was absolutely lethal. Like, he could use, but his left foot was probably one of the best because you don't get many left foot players.
Yeah,
You
Stephen.
don't really get that many, but to be at his level, the thing about Fowler, I don't think he could do it in a front three. Now, that's totally wrong. Like, if he was born tomorrow, someone with his footballing ability, he would be trained in a modern team. It's not like
Right,
he's been
exactly.
from back
Yeah,
to the future.
yeah,
It's just like someone that, like I say, he'd be a Lewandowski. Someone that can
yeah,
finish like that and do that. Yeah, you couldn't buy that. And like Pop said earlier on, he'd be
yeah.
Fowler today would be £100 million player.
Well,
Absolutely, don't.
let's go. Yeah, I think he'd be more like the lines of what we see for your your Neymars or your those kinds of acquisitions. I think he'd be one of the possibly for the Prem and probably one of the first 200 million pound
Yeah,
players.
like, okay, he's not super fast. Yeah, okay, he's not Mbappe and he's not
but
Messi
but his
skillful,
ability to
but
score
goals
is
currency. Yeah,
undeniable.
goals are currency, and that guy,
Right.
what did he score? A hat trick against Arsenal in about like the time it takes to eat
4
a packet of
minutes.
crisps.
Yeah.
Two
Make it
packets
Yeah,
of
brutal.
Brian,
crisps.
Asian Pop says, in the modern era, it's harder to bring players from the past into this 4-3-3. This is a modern system. Some of the best players in the past were in a 4-4-2. I understood and agreed.
That's why the Premier League only thing actually makes it a bit easier
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
it's the
Because when
reason
you
why I
keep
lost the
it,
Anfield Cup. I get it. Yeah.
oh, man, no, the guy just bangs goals.
I won't let
The
it
guy just
go.
bangs goals.
On you, Kane. No.
But I quickly want to go back to what Brian was saying. That's why I respect Brian's football opinion, because I know he loves Alonso and I know he loves Torres. But he was
Right.
just thinking logic that Suarez and Gerrard would get us the win against Man City, for example. He didn't just
Yeah,
say, "Oh, I'm picking Alonso and Torres. I don't care." He was like, "You know what? I need to use my logic here,"
Yeah.
and that's a good football opinion where people don't get their emotions involved.
No, yeah, that's why I'm saying like we're gonna put together, like I said earlier, we're gonna make an episode where whatever your defense of the player that you're trying to bring out, we're gonna say like you can utilize your eye test. I get that whole concept, but we're gonna go with what was their you're gonna say, I don't know, like 2013, 2014 Suarez. And
It's
then
not a concept.
we can utilize that as a reference point as to say the reason why you want this player in that role, and we'll factor that in as being some of the determinants on like how we approach
the team,
defining a what we can call maybe like a stat nerd style, like a take to it, stat nerd with a little Salt Bay sprinkle of Mr. Eye Test or something like that.
No. Let's do what? No, let's stop this again. This is one of these things that's going in room 101. It's 50-50.
Oh goodness.
It's both. It's both, okay? It's not stats versus eye test. It's not like that one is an idea, one is not. It's the only way to do it. You can't learn just one thing on its own. So you got to do both.
No, I said that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's both.
But
it's both.
Yeah, but it is both. It's not. It's another thing that we should make. Like, are you a stats guy? Are you an eye test guy?
Yeah, you can't.
You've got to be both.
You
have to be both to do it right. Like, have you ever seen the guy play? Oh no, I haven't. Well, that's an issue. It's like I know you've gone through his data and you are the guy at the computer in Liverpool. It's like, no, of course I've never seen this guy because he plays for Ancona or he plays for Steaua Bucharest. But his numbers are absolutely incredible. We need to get somebody out there to watch this guy.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, or it's like someone's out there going, look, I was out watching this guy and there was this other player there and he looked superb. What's his numbers? I want let me know, like, what's the crack with this guy? It works, but it's symbiotic. One can't work without the other. And like Kenny used to say back in the day, you'd go and watch them, but don't think they're like those guys back in the day. They talk about it now, like it was different. Yeah, the level, the bar, but they did all that stuff where they figured out what people were like back in the day as well. Like none of it is new, but some of it's different. It's just, but now it's the fact that like you're not going to waste your time getting on a plane to go and watch some guy in South America because you already have a dossier of information, in front of you, and then you look and go, right, okay, yeah, we're going to go and watch this kid, and we're going to go
scouts.
And
players, teams have always had scouts, that go and do
it's
a lot
all
of
in the eyes. Yeah, it's all in the eyes, I think, for the kind of either the initial thing or the final thing or whatever, because you can't know until you watch a player on the pitch and go the little things or whatever. It all comes into it. But like that's the thing, football now. It used to be one, and now it's not like gone too far the other way. But yeah, you've got like the top clubs have probably got what 30, 40 people. This is what Edwards came in. That was his first job at Liverpool. Was just sitting there crunching data. That was it. Never left his office. Never watched footballers. Just crunched data. And then it's like, right, okay, well, there's a list of 20 guys. They look, they pass muster on the data test. That gets passed up the chain to, whatever. But yeah, it starts at the bottom with all of that. It's the only way to do it when you've got 20,000 footballers out there. You can't fly all over the world. You can only have so many.
I get it.
So
I get it, King Kenny. I mean, Brian. I'm messing with you, Brian. I'm only messing with you.
Come on, man. Don't pigeonhole me. Come on, man. Don't pigeonhole me. Don't pigeonhole me. Like, I'm that middle of the road guy. I'm always going to say that. Got to use both.
Hey, if someone called me King Kenny, I would wear it with a badge, man. I would wear
No, but you didn't mean it. Yeah, I know. But you were calling me like old man shouting at clouds, King Kenny.
No. You're Team Jewett then 12.
Yeah, right.
Oh
man, it's been a fun little. It's been as always, on the Liverpool 12th man Learjet here. It's always been a fun ride. I appreciate everyone joining us in the chat. Man, and we will be definitely bringing you that episode that I mentioned earlier. We're gonna like fine tune it, we'll figure it out. Brian, JK will all work out. Maybe even Hylor will help out in the direction of how we, bring out the, smooth off the rough edges, so it could be a really fun ride for all of us. But JK, thank you for joining me today. You want to give a shout out or say any departing words to our patrons here?
Yeah. I just want to say, good laugh. It's good to laugh sometimes with football. I think football's it's a fun topic. Well, it should be, We're going for a league title. Say again, Brian.
It's supposed to be, apparently. Yeah, football.
It's like even Liverpool fans have turned depressant. I'm thinking, come on, bro. It's good times. Top of the league, won a cup already. We've had a few injuries. We've got over that sort of. Few players are coming back. So I just want to say for people just to be happy in the situation we're in at the moment. But there's the guy I quickly want to say. His name's Maximilian Bayer. He plays for Hoffenheim. He's a striker, 21. Just look at him. Maybe he's gonna come good. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
keep an eye on him. I'm gonna keep an eye on that player. I was gonna say I'll keep an eye on that player. I'm gonna keep an eye on Brian's mention of the player at Hull that he likes so much as well. I'm gonna keep an eye on both those players now. They're definitely in my vision here. Hey Brian, what would you like to say to our mighty Reds out there?
Just thanking everybody as usual that's come in and been in the chat, because it's been really good the last few weeks. It's been lots of people coming in, but also not just coming in, constantly commenting and bringing up ideas all the time. It's a really, really good chat. It's not, the world's biggest chat or anything, but I just want to thank everyone that's been here over the last few weeks, because I've been in a lot of nights. I want to thank 12th Man for inviting me on every night, which has been brilliant, and JK as well. Great to talk to every time you're on as well. So just in terms of anyone else, the Bayesian Pops are in the building. So if you haven't subscribed to Bayesian Reds TV, go over there. And if you haven't subscribed to anyone else we've mentioned tonight, then go over and subscribe there. We'll see you all again the next time, hopefully.
Yeah, hey, it takes it in this airplane. It can take two. It could be solo. It could be two. It can sometimes be three pilots that are necessary to fly, depending on how many people we have in the chat that want to take this flight. But I mean, it's always an enjoyable flight when we have our mighty Reds along for the ride. So I appreciate everyone in the chat. I appreciate JK. Appreciate Brian as well for helping out as always. I mean, it's always open invitation to these gentlemen. And I also want to say tomorrow I will be doing a preview lead-in, because I just to regard to KJ's question, I will be doing a preview lead-in to the game tomorrow. So what I'll do is I already have the thumbnail up for the time. So if you can just hit that notification bell, put it to all, and you'll always know when I'm going live. I'm going to be doing my predictions on what I think is the starting lineup, what is going to be the scorers, what's going to be the score line. I have a new presentation to bring in how we're going to be, for actually showing you the team and how we get to the players that are going to be on the starting lineup. So hopefully you appreciate that. And again, it'll be a live. I was going to say, it'll. So what time is that for you? So
it's at 4:30 UK time. It's at 4:30 UK time.
Okay, so I'm going to be on an hour and a half before game time, basically. So whatever time that ends up working out in your area, I'll be on. It ends up being like sometime in the morning for me. That's why I don't know.
I think it's 4:20 UK time. Yeah.
Sorry, it is. For everybody in the UK, it's 4:20 UK time for the lead into the match.
Yep.
Big up, a Los Blancos fan. Okay, I got you. Big up. Roll me one, Kenobi. I was going to say, so an hour and a half before kickoff, basically, I will have my broadcast go live. It'll be a lead-in. What I mean by a lead-in is that I'll tell you all the things I just said earlier about the starting 11s I predict. And then what we'll do is normally when Brian's a part of it as well, or JK is part of it, what we do is we do a live actual update to the actual lineup that we had the predictions. You'll see it live as we tell you what we got right, what we got wrong.
What we got wrong.
And we'll also prepare you we'll prepare you for the game going in before I hop in the car and go to my local boozer, supporter boozer to be with my fellow Reds here in my area. So definitely please join me tomorrow. What's that?
Yeah, we've won every game when you've done the show. We win every game.
Yeah. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
No. Don't do that to me, bro.
Don't jinx it. Do not jinx it. But let's hopefully the streak continue. And I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you took note of the banner on the bottom there, telling you true words to always hold true in everything that we do. But always, as always, please do continue to take care of yourselves so that in turn you can continue to take care of your loved ones in your life. Life is very fragile and precious. We have to treat it as such. And I would love to stress the fact that with the support of each other, we can make things happen. Anything's possible. So until tomorrow, take care, and I will see you mañana. All right, take care, guys.